Hey everyone, I'm Connor and welcome to my channel, The Closet. If it's your first time here on my channel, I like to talk about all things luxury. So if that's something you're into, I'd love it if you could hit the subscribe button and the bell button so you're notified when I bring out new videos. And if you're returning, welcome back to my channel. Today's video, I'm going to be talking about the luxury items and bags that I have sold and why. And it's not really a huge list because I generally don't buy and sell a lot. The irony of that is I do have a consignment business, so it would be very easy for me to do so, but I actually don't like just selling stuff. I like to give it a kind of good run, and now I'm a bit more comfortable with bags that like I don't need to wear them all the time or use them all the time, as long as they kind of have some sort of purpose, and when I do get them or when I do reach for them and I use them, I like them. That's all that really matters these days. But let's just get right into it, okay? So the first item on the list is my Cartier love bracelet, which I sold, I think in April or the start of May, maybe? No, April. And basically two things happened as to what led me to sell the bracelet. I had it for 2 years. I wore it every other day. It was on me all the time, never took it off, yada, yada, yada. But one of the issues that I had, which wasn't really an issue, it was just more of an inconvenience, was every time I would travel domestically with it, there was some sort of issue at security. And I know everybody who owns a love bracelet has a different story of when they travel. Some people have no problems whatsoever. Some people do have issues. Some people it's hit and miss. But for me, every time I would seem to go through the scanners on either side of the airport, like whether I was from where I was leaving or where I was like leaving to and leaving from, there was always some issue. I'd walk through the scanner, it would set the scanner thing off, the security people were like, what's this? I've never seen this before, why are you wearing that? Take it off, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, bitch, you would see people with love bracelets, especially at Sydney Airport, all of the time. So I don't know why this is some shock to you that I'm wearing this, but it was just always a debacle. And because it would set off the security thing, they'd make me step to the side, I'd have to do the little thing, and then all my stuff's just sitting at the little, you know, when it goes through the scanner thing, and I just have to let it sit there while I'm getting scanned with the other scanning thing. And it was just a hassle. It would always happen. I don't know why it would happen with me. I thought maybe because if I'm wearing a long sleeve or a jacket or something and they couldn't see it and then it would get set off, that would be the issue. So I would wear a t-shirt. It was still an issue, so that would just annoy me, and it led me to just not wanting to wear it whenever I would travel. So when I went down for Meredith's wedding in January to Sydney, I just took it off and I never put it back on again. So that was one of the issues. The other issue was, not really an issue, but I kind of just not fell out of love with the love bracelet, but I just kind of looked at it as more of like an accessory more so than a piece of jewelry that I liked to have, if that makes sense. Like it reminded me of very, like, it was a love bracelet. It wasn't like a piece of jewelry. So I kind of just, I don't know, I just kind of fell out of love with wearing it for that look. I don't know if that makes sense. It just wasn't something that I was like, oh, I love wearing this piece of jewelry. Like it's, yeah, I don't know. I just kind of changed how I saw it, I guess you would say. So because I'd had it off since January, I was kind of like, oh, I don't want to sell it because I can't really be bothered going through that whole process of like taking the photos and listing it and doing all of that. So I kind of just didn't wear it and was undecided with what I wanted to do. I had somebody message my business page, Conrad's Closet, and they asked, do you have any love bracelets for sale? And I said, like, what size are you looking for? What details? And they were basically looking for a size 18 in rose gold, which is what mine was, full set, yada, yada, yada. And their budget was $1,000 more than what I actually paid for the bracelet originally. So I sold it. It was an easy sale, you know, person paid for it, gave it, done. And it just kind of worked out. So I was happy to kind of move it on, especially because I wasn't wearing it. And that's kind of why I sold it. There was no real reason, I guess. Like, I just kind of thought someone wanted it, I could sell it, sold it, and it was just easy. Yeah, so there was no real big, I don't know, deciding factor that made me want to get rid of it. It was just kind of circumstantial. I guess I would want another bracelet to replace it, but I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm too undecided, and because it's such a lot of money to kind of just take a whim on buying jewelry. Like, you kind of got to know. So I don't really know where I stand at the moment, but I would always recommend like that bracelet to people if they were on the fence about it. Like the way it wore, how comfortable it was, all of that stuff. Like, hands down, it was a great purchase. But the fact that somebody wanted to buy it, I could get $1,000 more for it than what I originally paid for it. Keeping in mind there were price increases on the retail price from when I originally bought it 2 years prior, so it kind of was all aligned anyways. But yeah, that's the reason. The next bag that I have sold was my Pochete Matisse that I had in the reverse monogram. I've done a video on that, a bit more in detail, I guess, on it, which I'll link down below if you haven't seen it. I think I did it like in 2021, so yeah, ages ago now. But basically, the Pochete Matisse, I love the look of it, and in my opinion, I've always seen it as more of like a masculine, like more satchel kind of style bag. But ultimately I sold it so I could get my Loewe puzzle bag because I felt like that was a better fit for the kind of style of bag. And I have kind of come to the realization that I prefer more kind of low-key bags, not fucking quite luxury, I'm not getting into that, but just me personally, like, I found the Pochete Matisse was a bit too loud for where I wanted to take it, and yeah, it was just not a fit for me. Another issue I had with the Pochete Matisse was I found it a bit cumbersome to use. I feel like unless you had the bag kind of full to capacity, it was quite annoying to shut. Where the front pocket sits and the S-lock obviously on the opposite side of that, if you were trying to close it, it would kind of like buckle in because there was nothing behind the plate of the S-lock to kind of push back when you would push the flap down. So you would be like trying to like close it and it would spring back out, and you know, it just wasn't kind of easy going. So then I'd be like, okay, well, I won't close it, I'll just leave it kind of open, and then whenever you'd walk, it'd be like... So yeah, I mean, granted, if you filled the bag to the capacity, you probably wouldn't have that issue, but it wasn't really a bag that I did fill to capacity. I found the kind of internal pockets a bit awkward for what I would use it, and I guess if I'm comparing it to the puzzle bag because it's just one kind of open space versus partition spaces, that just the shape didn't work with the spaces. I know that sounds like I'm nitpicking, but it was just aesthetically I liked the look of it, but it just wasn't something that worked for me. Yeah, does that make sense? The next item on my list was my Loewe mini puzzle bag from the House Moving Castle collaboration. I sold this very recently and I really didn't want to sell it at all, but there was just one thing about it that just completely deterred me from using this bag, and it was the type of leather they used in this collaboration for the bags. I don't know why Loewe did this, it was just stupid, and it really put me off from using the bag. Now, it came in this satin calf skin, which I couldn't really find an equivalent leather with other brands to what it was, just because it was a bit weird, but basically it was incredibly firm, incredibly structured, almost like a box leather, but not as shiny, but it was more prone to scratching and denting and crinkling, and I should have just not gotten it because of how like incompatible the leather and I were. I like stuff with a grain, I like stuff with a bit of texture, and I do like some of the softer leathers, like what's it called? Puzzle bum bag. It is in a smooth leather, but it has got a grain to it and there is some sort of texture and it's not delicate. It's got some smush to it, so you kind of get the benefits of the softer leather with the more suppleness. And this is not a leather I would say is delicate at all. But that puzzle bag in the satin calf skin, I just hated using it, and I would always like get dressed and be like, oh, I really want to take that bag, it'll go with what I'm wearing. And then I'd put it on and I'm like, ugh, I just can't be bothered dealing with this bag. I'm going to be fussy where I put it. It's just going to be too much work. And then I put it back and put something else on. And I'm kind of disappointed that they made it in that leather. I think they're trying to, like, that was their latest leather at the time of that collaboration. So they were trying to, I guess, encourage people to buy stuff in that leather, but I think they will probably discontinue it soon. It's just not, it's not a usable leather, and especially in the mini puzzle because it's so small, and like getting in and out of that bag, it was just a nightmare. Yeah, and because I do have the puzzle bum bag, which has the exact same size and opening, getting in and out of that is easy. Getting in and out of the satin calfskin version was a nightmare. So I basically, how did I sell it? Oh yeah, so I had a client who'd bought something from Meredith's vlog sale recently that I did, and then they happened to ask about that bag, and it was just an easy transaction. Sent it to them, they lived in America, Bob's your uncle, done. So it kind of just worked out for the best. And yeah, I was quite lucky that I actually didn't lose any money. In fact, I think I made maybe $200 off that sale, which, you know, always good that you don't lose money, but I should have taken my own advice, from a video that I'd filmed like a few months back now, and it was like luxury compromises that I won't make, and one of those was buying something in a leather that I'm not into. I should have just taken my own advice, and when I actually filmed that video, when I was talking about the leather kind of compromise, I was thinking of that bag. So now I need to get another bag to fill that void. But moral of that story, never, ever, ever compromise. No matter, the bag could shit fucking gold. Do not get it if it is not in a leather that you know is not your vibe, okay? Because you will ultimately sell it, because that's just what happens. The only other item that I was like considering selling was my Gucci Affidia bag. I was probably thinking about selling it maybe 6 months ago, but that kind of died down very quickly because I wear it quite often. It goes with a lot of stuff. I find this canvas to be quite versatile. It's very cool. It kind of goes with everything that I wear anyways. And it's quite a carefree bag. The canvas is really good quality. I've been caught in the rain with it, all of that stuff, and it's been fine. It's got a great capacity in there, like for all of the stuff that I would take in it. Like your phone just slips right in there and there's heaps of room. So I probably would never sell this bag, and at the end of the day it was like $1,000, $1,300 or something like that. So it's not doing no harm just sitting there. But yeah, that's about it. What was I going to say? Moral of the story in this video, I don't think you should feel guilty about selling stuff if it doesn't work for you, if you've given it a good ride, you've tried everything and you're just not reaching for it, or you just can't be bothered using that bag. Sometimes there's just bags you cannot be bothered using, and that's normally a sign to fuck it off, because you're not going to use it all of a sudden one day. Just get this spring of enthusiasm to pick it up. So you may as well move it on. And yeah, give it a good go, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. No point flogging a dead horse. So that's basically it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and I'd love it if you could give this video a thumbs up. That one helps with the algorithm, okay? And I'm very close to 5,000 subscribers, so make sure you are subscribed if you have not already. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys, and I hope to see you all very shortly in my next video.